tuning in to another week of Brews and Boxing. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and all that good stuff, as it helps the channel out tremendously. And also be sure to follow us on all the major social media platforms. And one last thing, be sure to drink your Ovaltine. You guys ready for some brews and stuff? Look, joining me, actually before, look, Raider Live's not here. I'm new to this. Joining me, we got a special guest, and we have the regular. I'm riding shotgun. I'm not riding shotgun. Judge Jimmy James is riding shotgun. I'm in the driver's seat. Judge, how you doing?
I'm good, Rich. I'm good. We're got a what'd you say? A little intruder that's sitting over here. We're gonna have to talk about this guy, but yeah, I'm doing well.
Cool. Our intruder is Matt from Lindstrom. Matt, how you doing, man?
I'm good, boys. How you boys doing? I miss you guys, and I'm glad to be here.
Friend of the show. Raider, we miss you. I obviously can't do your job, so come back soon. You guys ready to get into some brews and news?
Absolutely.
Let's ring that bell.
All right. Brews and news time. And like we always do about this time, crack open and brew. Gentlemen, you got your brews? Pop them open. Cheers to you guys.
Cheers.
All right, let's get started here. So Bad Left Hooks, Will Esco is reporting that Gilberto Ramirez is looking to land a fight against Artur Beterbiev. Beterbiev, coming off a KO victory this past Saturday on ESPN, will probably fight Joe Smith Jr. next, if Smith Jr. can get past Maxim Vlasov in a few weeks. Boys, my question for you, who would you like to see Beterbiev fight next? Ramirez or Joe Smith Jr.? Matt, let's throw it to you first.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I want to see Joe Smith Jr. against Beterbiev, because I personally believe that blue-collar man deserves a title shot and deserves to show what he actually is made of. I think Joe Smith Jr., because he doesn't have the boxing skill, quote-unquote, is better than people think they are. They think he is. He's got thud and blows. I mean, the man has fought Eleider Alvarez, knocked him out. Put Bernard Hopkins, all-time great, through the ropes. The man has fought with a broken jaw. He's tough as nails. He deserves a shot. Blue collar. And you know what? I don't think Beterbiev has ever fought anyone even close to par to Joe Smith Jr. in all of his 18, 20 KOs or whatever he has. He's got that perfect KO record. I'll be honest with you, Joe Smith Jr. beats Beterbiev.
Wow. Okay, I was not expecting to hear that. Judge,
I just said it.
Judge, what you got to say about it? Well, first of all, who do you want to see him fight? And do you have a rebuttal to what the intruder from Lindstrom just said?
Yeah, I definitely have some rebuttal. All right. So one, you're talking about Joe Smith Jr. against Beterbiev or else Zurdo Ramirez, right? So Zurdo, we have to remember, hasn't fought yet after he has been signed by Golden Boy, which if we're talking about skilled fighters who I'd rather see fight, I probably would want to see Zurdo fight Beterbiev before Joe Smith Jr. However, I do agree that I do like the tenacity and the heart of Joe Smith Jr. He is definitely a rough and tough blue collar individual. I think that when I saw him like 3 fights ago, he was like maybe right before that B-Hop fight that he had that he was working construction literally on the street. So that was like pretty crazy. But one thing I do want to touch on is that Matt said that Beterbiev hasn't fought anyone. And I'm going to throw this one right back in your face, because if you think Alexander Godzvik was no one at the time that Beterbiev fought him, you are crazy. Godzvik is better than Joe Smith Jr. I thought Godzvik was the #1 in lightweight for a time until that happened. So, or I mean, light heavyweight. I'm sorry, my bad. I didn't mean lightweight. So that was, I mean, that's pretty crazy. I can't. He does have a subpar resume, but that fight right there put, for me, Beterbiev into the upper echelon, and now he is the fighter to beat at light heavyweight. So, I mean, that's my verdict.
Matt, you had your hand up. What's going on?
Artur Beterbiev is known as having, especially in sparring, a glass jaw. He's never taken a solid shot. Joe Smith Jr. will give him a solid shot. The man will crumble. Canelo Alvarez put him down when he was at 154. Just saying.
All right. Well, look.
I'd love to see. I want to see it. I think Joe Smith has earned it. Honest to God, he's earned it. He's went through the fire. He's fought a lot better opposition than Beterbiev has. He deserves that belt.
Look, yeah,
he deserves a shot at it, I should say.
Yeah, I don't know who I'm agreeing with here, but if the question is who do I want to see Beterbiev fight, my answer is going to be Joe Smith for a few reasons. One, we have not seen Zurdo Ramirez at 175, and me and Judge have gotten into this before, where I want to see the guy at his weight. I want him to get comfortable first. Now,
Yep.
I mean, Judge makes a good case that if you're going to move up a class, go fight the best. There is something to be said about a big money-making fight. Why move up to 175 if you're just going to fight a bunch of no names? But there is something there to be comfortable at the weight. I also think the Joe Smith Jr. fight is the easy one to make. They're both on Top Rank, ESPN. Talk about like pay-per-view fights. This one could be a pay-per-view fight. These guys are at the top, along with Dimitri Bivol, the top of the light heavyweight list. And Bivol, I believe, was the one who broke Joe Smith Jr.'s jaw. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Bivol makes for a good fight with all three of these guys. I'd like to see Zurdo Ramirez against Bivol and Joe Smith Jr. But
Joe Smith didn't quit in that fight either.
Yeah, he kept going. Good call. But you know where my money is Joe Smith Jr. versus Beterbiev. But unlike Matt, I'm taking Beterbiev to win this fight, but I'm not going to count out Joe Smith Jr. You guys got anything else to add?
I do like your point about Ramirez. He does need to take a fight. He's not very accomplished at this weight. He's moved up. Yeah, he's always been big and rangy. But you know, it's different when you come up and you fight these boys that have been fighting at that weight class.
And you know, I think he's with DAZN, and so is Bivol. So I think because Ramirez just signed with Golden Boy, and I'm pretty sure Golden Boy's pretty much linked with DAZN. Bivol, I think his last couple fights have been on DAZN. Let that fight happen first. Get like a new Super 6 going on or something. Let these winners fight. Let them unify.
Yep.
Let Triller get in on a purse bid, and we'll make this thing happen. Should we move on?
I'd like to see Bivol somewhere. I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, I agree. Can we
He'll
drink
fight
to Bivol? Let's drink to Bivol.
We could drink to Bivol. Yeah, why not, right?
Hey, I'll drink to Bivol. I love Bivol.
I do too. All right, let's move on to Andy Ruiz and Chris Arreola is official for May 1st on Fox Sports pay-per-view. Fox Sports is asking for a price of $49.95 for a card that consists of Omar Figueroa Jr. versus Abel Ramos, Sebastian Fondora versus Jorge Cota, Jesus Ramos Jr. versus Javier Molina, and Iris Landy Lara versus Thomas Lamana, the Cornflake. So my question, he goes by Cornflake. My question for you guys is this card, top to bottom, worth the $50, the asking price? Judge Jimmy James, we'll go to you first.
So when I first saw the headline for this, obviously I've seen Ruiz and Arreola the talks before, and then they made the fight and all that stuff. And not once was there any talk about it being on pay-per-view until I saw it like a couple days ago or whenever I rechecked on the news story. I was like, you've got to be kidding me that this is on pay-per-view. There are other fights that haven't been on pay-per-view that I would have gladly paid money to see. And this one, Estrada Chocolatito, there's one of them. Like Estrada Chocolatito 2, I would have paid money to see that. And Andy Ruiz, who hasn't fought in since the loss to Wilder, and Arreola. Joshua, my bad. And then Areola's the journeyman. Like, you know, I can't believe he's still fighting at all. Now, to touch base on what you're saying, $49.95. I did not know the undercard I also didn't know that Lara was going to be moving up to the middleweight division to fight Cornflake. So the undercard for this makes it a little more entertaining for me. The Figueroa Ramos fight. I always like to see. I really like watching Fundora fight because not to see how he fights, because I already know how he fights. I like to see how his opponent tries to deal with a 6'5" individual that what weight class is he?
154.
154. 6'5" and 154 is the smallest, lankiest thing on the planet, and people still can't fight him. It's just crazy. Like, he has these for having as much of a reach as he has. He's got real like short power hands, which just doesn't make sense to me considering what he is. But I am reconsidering. But if you would have told me this before I saw the undercard, I would have laughed in your face and said, no, I will steal it off the internet. I don't steal anything off the internet. I will watch it at your house, Rich. But now maybe it might be worth it just because of the undercard alone.
Matt, you paying for this pay-per-view?
Yes. And even before I found out Lara was moving to middleweight. First off, we got Mexico against Mexico. Chris Arreola versus Andrew Ruiz. And I want to see what Eddie Reynoso has done to Mr. Andrew Ruiz and his weight loss and how good he can look. We all know Andrew Ruiz got fast hands. I've seen some pictures of Mr. Andy Ruiz lately. He looks amazing.
Photoshop.
I'm guaranteed his hands are even faster. I think he's going to be around 230 for this fight with hands of speed and stone, and he's going to have a good defense, and he's going to throw a left hook to the body like all of Eddie Reynoso's boxers. Canelo, Ryan Garcia, everyone throws that left hook to the body. It's Mexico against Mexico. I was buying it immediately upon it because I seen how good Andrew Ruiz does look. I don't have Instagram, but I have this thing called the internet, and I've seen him. He looks good. I've been watching him hit the bag, and when you train with champions, you become a champion. He trains with Canelo Alvarez, and Canelo Alvarez, cream of the crop. I was buying it before, but when I found out that Erislandri Lara was moving up to 160 to middleweight, and he's trying to get a belt at 160, that intrigued me so hard. And he's taking on a tough customer, honest to God. He really is. Lamont is no joke. The Cornflake, yeah, I know look at his record, and he's fought a lot of people.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm with kind of James on this one, where I would have laughed in your face for $50 to watch 40-year-old Chris Arreola, who probably hasn't won a fight in a while, clearly past his prime, against Andy Ruiz coming off of a loss. Like, say what you will, but coming off a loss never looks good. I don't care about the Eddie Reynoso thing. I've already declared him trainer of the year. I didn't know that, but that had no bearing on whether I was buying this or not. But then the undercard was revealed. I'm an Omar Figueroa Jr. guy. I knew when he stepped into the ring with Ugas that was not a good move. I'm an Ugas guy too, and Ugas gave it to him. I'm still an Omar Figueroa Jr. guy. Abel Ramos was the guy who just lost on that wicked scorecard to Ugas, where one judge had Abel Ramos winning, which was pathetic. Ramos Jr. was actually on that same card. So the two of them are probably linked together. And I think him and Javier Molina make for a good fight, but this is more of a showcase for Jesus Ramos. Sebastian Fundora versus Coda. That's another kind of showcase fight. The last time I saw Coda, it was probably the last time you guys saw him, when Jermel Charlo beat him up on regular Fox television, and like it looked like his eyes were rolling in the back of his head. So most of these fighters, like the headliner guys, are probably top 10. Someone like Ruiz is top 10. Figueroa's a fringe top 10. Fundora's fringe top 10. Erislandri Lara moving up to 160, I find it interesting because this is the way you move up weight. You move up and you fight a guy who you can probably beat to see if you are comfortable at this weight class. And against this guy, Cornflake, I think Erislandri wins, but that was like that's what is going to sell the pay-per-view right there. Showing more Iris Landy Lara. Yeah, if I have $50 to throw it away, I might go to James's house to watch it, but I will actually contribute this time rather than mooch off him. You guys got anything else you want to add?
I just, to be honest with you, I've always liked Andy Ruiz. I'm happy for his weight loss, and I think I want to see what he looks like with that weight gone.
I like Ruiz too. I've always liked him. I didn't count him out against Joshua because he was a replacement fighter, but Ruiz just remember when he was eating Snickers all the time? I wonder if he's still eating the Snickers and if Snickers is sending him gift bags or anything.
He looks good.
I think so too. Let's move on to Brews and Reviews. Ring the bell. So Brews and Reviews. We're just going to look at the fight last weekend between Virgil Ortiz and Maurice Hooker. We talked enough about like Beterbiev and his 11-round win, 10-round win, whatever it was, but we're going to just focus on Virgil Ortiz and Maurice Hooker. Judge, what are your thoughts on this fight this past weekend?
Yeah, so this one I was actually, so if you rewind this way back in the show, at one point I had Maurice Hooker before he had his loss. I had him pretty high up in my rankings as far as a fighter that I thought was going to be that, to start climbing up the ranks. The loss really changed him a little bit, it didn't, I don't think it like stalled as much of anything because he only has that one loss, but it was still, I think it was big enough to him because he was being touted at the time as, the big up and, a big up and comer. And, he lost to what, Ramirez? Well, obviously there's no joke as far as that goes, but I just thought it was going to be different. Now, if we go back to the fight that we just had this weekend, Virgil Ortiz, he is a force right now. Obviously 100% KO percentage, which, doesn't happen too often. Only got a couple of guys that I can name, obviously Beterbiev, and then, Edgar Berlanga at this point. I mean, it didn't look like Hooker was ready to handle what Ortiz was sending his way. There was like some flashes of Hooker getting some good shots in because Ortiz was getting a little overzealous, but it just didn't seem like Hooker was getting over that loss, to me anyway. Ortiz looked good. I know Ortiz was coming up. I think this is a big step for Ortiz. I think this is going to springboard Ortiz to a lot bigger fights at 147, and there's a lot of fighters at 147 that he can run into at this point, and I think the sky's the limit for Ortiz if he keeps this up. I think Hooker's probably on the way down. Ortiz is making some waves, and I think he's just going to keep going like right up that mountain, man. So I'm excited to see who he fights next and who he might upset on his way to the top.
So Matt, let me ask you, like, what's next for both these guys, Ortiz and Hooker? But first, give me what's next for let's do Hooker. What's next for Hooker? Do you think?
I think Hooker needs to go back, get with his trainers. This was his first time. I think I'm not sure if he switched trainers, but he was sparring with Terrence Crawford, his first time ever for this fight. I don't know if he switched trainers because after the knockout loss, and he had the right idea going into the fight. He was game, but he didn't utilize what he should have, his length. He should have been jabbing the whole time, honestly. He should have kept Ortiz at bay, and he did not do it because if you looked at the discrepancy in arm length, it's insane. Maurice Hooker's got a beautiful jab, and it's long, and he did not utilize it. But he's notorious for getting drug into fights. He needs to go back to the drawing board, get back with the trainers that he just got with, spar with Terrence Crawford some more because we all know Terrence Crawford be the best. But that was for you, James.
Oh my goodness, I'm done with you.
But to be, did I get muted? All right.
No, you're good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I thought I was. All right.
You're good.
Maurice Hooker, the guy's got talent. He's tough as nails. You know, the only reason that fight ended, I mean, he was getting ripped pretty hard by some nasty shots. But you want to know something? He did damage to Virgil Ortiz. Did you see Virgil Ortiz's face? It was marked up. He was battling. And he's a tough man. And for all the people that actually did boo him, we should talk about that later maybe. They shouldn't be fans in the sport of boxing because you should never boo a man who gets in between the ropes. It's, you know, he gave his life up in there. But honestly, he didn't stick to a game plan that he should have. He should have kept his distance with the jab because he's got long arms. And now I've crossed over to Ortiz. I'm sorry.
Let me jump in quickly because I do want to ask you something. You know, we just went over like the Landy Lara moving up a weight class to fight I don't want to say a lesser known guy, but I'm gonna say a lesser known guy with Maurice Hooker. I believe his last fight was at 140. Then he moves up to 147, and Virgil Ortiz is not at the top of the list. Let's be honest here. This is no knock on Ortiz, but do you think Maurice Hooker belongs at 147? Or, I mean, you said go to the drawing board. Should he go back down to 140?
Nope.
Do you think the training thing has something to do with it? What you got?
No, I think he should stay at 147 because he already talked about, for him in his slender build, cutting down to 140, his legs were weak at round 6. So he needs to stay up where he can actually eat and have nourishment. I think he's right where he's supposed to be. To be honest with you, he was still in that fight. Yeah, he was getting beat. He was getting hurt. But you want to know something? He wasn't ready to go out. He broke. Honest to God. I'm sorry.
No, so you're good.
He broke something in his wrist. He was still a game fighter, to be honest with you. At any moment, we all know it's boxing. One punch can change anything.
Yeah.
And you want to know something? Virgil Ortiz, as much as I love him, I think he's good. Now I'm stepping over the next question, but
look, well, we'll go right to it. What's next for Virgil Ortiz?
Virgil Ortiz needs to work on his defense. Like they talked about all night, how he keeps them cuffs up, and he's supposed to be all about his defense. You want to know what he does? He lowers both hands when he's throwing power shots, and he leaves his whole head open. And I watched it in the last couple fights. When he starts tearing in, he thinks because he's so vicious and assertive that no one's going to come back and pop him. Hooker actually caught him with a couple, and he didn't know. You could see his face. He was marked up. You get in with a guy like a Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, who were both in the audience that night because they're looking for that fight, because they want to derail the hype train, because everyone's on Virgil. And Virgil, he can be great, but you want to know something? He's 22 years old. They want him to jump up now. They're baiting him. Virgil needs a couple more fights and then go fight them. He shouldn't be challenging for that. They're wanting that because he leaves everything down. He's got no defense. When he starts throwing, that's what those boys, the good boys know, Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, are looking for.
James, I saw you shaking your head. You got something you want to add to that?
Well, look, I mean, I agree with this to a point, but I definitely agree that Hooker should stay at this weight. I don't see him trying to get back down to 140. 147 is plenty fine for where he is, because he's only going to, he's 31, so he's only going to get older. At this point, it's going to be tougher and tougher to cut. But I mean, if he wants some big money fights, like I said, this is riddled with talent. Now you're talking about you're baiting. I agree that Virgil Ortiz's defense definitely isn't as good as it should be, right? But he's also 22 years old. He's 22 years old, 17. Like that's bam. Like that's not something to scoff at. That is not easy to do. I think the record for like most KOs in a row to start your career is like 25, right? I can't remember the guy's name because
that was Mugabe. Mugabe was 25 and no, never. I take that back. 25 and no, never mind.
Was it 25?
It wasn't 25 knockouts. My bad.
Well, that's what I remember. Somebody go fact check it. I don't know how to use the internet, but either way, this isn't something to scoff at. I think Virgil Ortiz is someone that is a lot more disciplined than you think. I think he's going to. I don't remember who his trainer is, which I feel bad about that. But
Out of Texas.
Cool. but it definitely, I think he's someone that's going to be, once Spence and Crawford, Pacquiao, Porter, once these guys start disappearing, Virgil Ortiz is going to be one that's going to be at the top of that thing.
Go ahead, Matt. What you got?
Well, did you see that hesitant call out of Terrence Crawford and Terrence Crawford in the sideline?
I do want to talk about that. What you got for that?
He ain't ready. And that's true.
Ortiz ain't ready or Crawford ain't ready?
Virgil's not ready.
It was a joke, Matt. Lighten up a bit.
I think, but the thing is, I like Virgil Ortiz a lot. The way he sits down on his punches, he commits to every punch that he throws. He needs to work on his defense a little bit more. I think that Virgil Ortiz could be the future of that weight. And even upset, there's a reason that Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence were there, because they are worried about him.
Maybe I don't know if I would say they'd be worried about it. This guy's a fringe. Look, he's a fringe top 10 guy coming off a win. I'd say go after somebody else, fringe top 10 coming off a win. Even look towards the Figueroa fight, whoever, because Figueroa is probably going to win that fight. I think that would make for a good fight. Figueroa versus Hooker or Ortiz. I think even someone coming up a division, because when Crawford moved up from 140 to 147, he fought Jeff Horn, beat Horn. Horn had a title. That was kind of an easy fight for him. Look at someone like Regis Prograis, who might move up. And what's Josh? Is it Josh Taylor, Josh Warrington? Yep. One of those two Joshes at 140. They might get bored at that class and move up to 147. So I think Ortiz and Hooker, I think those guys mix and match them all make for pretty good fights. You guys want to move on? Go ahead. What's up?
You think Hooker should go back to 140? Do you like him?
I think 147 is where he belongs. Rarely would I say a guy needs to go back down, but
I don't
Ortiz
think he's got the legs to do it no more.
Well, Virgil Ortiz is a bit slept on because he's so young. You can't expect somebody to be at the top of the division with names like Crawford and Spence and even Porter and Pacquiao still in the mix. So Ortiz, just because this is a deep division. So being at number 10 doesn't mean you're a bad fighter. When you're number 10 in some other weight class or even number 6, it's just not good enough. We went through the middleweight division a few weeks ago, and being at like 7 or 8 in the middleweight division says that you're not, no knock on any of these guys. Like you're talking about booing fighters after the fight. These guys put their lives on the line only to get booed is so disrespectful. But Hooker belongs here.
It was horrible to see him get booed. Horrible.
Yeah, that was shameful. I don't know what was going on.
When he swore, and I didn't agree with him swearing at the crowd, but you know what? At the same time, I was like, you know what? Those people shouldn't have never been allowed in that arena.
I tend to agree. You guys ready to move on for brews and previews?
I just got one last thing to say.
Do it.
This is just a little nugget because if you're listening this far in, right? So we don't talk about women's boxing very often. I just want to say something real fast. Senesa Estrada, you need to watch this woman fight.
Yep.
We'll look at her style, her power, her footwork, her prowess. Check her out. That's 100%. All I got to say about that. Just check it out.
And if I wasn't getting married, I could date her.
Oh, yeah. All right.
We got to move on.
Can we mute him? Can we do something to mute him for a second? Anyways,
he's muted.
All right. So let's move on to brews and previews. Ring that bell. All right. So this Saturday afternoon on DAZN, Alexander Povetkin, who's holding a record of 36-2-1, will be fighting Dillian Whyte, who is 27-2. The last time these two met, Povetkin knocked him out. I believe it was at the end of the 4th round. That was it. Dillian Whyte, I think it was Dillian Whyte Povetkin claims he's going to put on a better performance. So I'm going to let you two give us a little rundown and a preview of the fight this Saturday afternoon. Judge, let's start with you again.
So, yeah, this is what I just couldn't like. I'm excited for this fight because I think it's a good rematch. I think both of these guys did real well in the first fight. It was high action, right? What I'm just dumbfounded about is that Povetkin states that he's looking for an improved performance. You knocked a dude out with one punch who people weren't giving you the time of day. I don't know how much after you got knocked down twice in the 2 rounds before that. I don't know how you're going to get much better than that, to be honest, be the fact that he's like a 40-something-year-old Russian. Like, just, I mean, I guess an improved performance wouldn't be getting knocked down and then knocking him out, but I think you just got to take the fact that you are, part of the KGB or something, because obviously somebody that takes a beating like that and comes back and just hits you with one punch, it's got to be something that the Kremlin's involved in, right? We've all seen Rocky IV. Come on, man. So, I mean, I'm excited to watch it. I think it's going to be good. This time around, if you watch the show, the last time we talked about this, I called Povetkin to win in the 4th by knockout if he could survive through the first 3 rounds, which ended up being right. I don't think that that's going to be the same case this time around. I think Dillian Whyte is going to end up flooring Povetkin, probably going to go a little bit longer, I think, because I don't think he's going to be as open. I think he's going to get knocked out in the 6th, but I do not believe that Povetkin is going to knock down Whyte, and I don't think that he's going to be as brilliant as he was in the first fight, in my opinion. That's my verdict.
Matt, what you think's going to happen this Saturday?
I'm just going to say this. You guys all know my affinity towards Mr. Dillian Whyte.
Oh, God. I want to mute you so bad after you saying that, but I'm going to let you continue. I
like Dillian Whyte because you know what? He's got respect for the game. He really does. He's got so much respect for boxing that you hear any interview with this man, it's all respect. I'm going to say this right now. That was a fluke, that one shot. Yeah, he let his guard up, and I know why he did. And I've seen his back foot drag, and he didn't bring it straight back and then get out the way with an angle. I'm going to predict right now, and I'm calling it right here. 2 knockdowns in round 3, knockout round 4, Dillian Whyte winning. That's it.
All right. So let's we're not really planning this, but let's say Dillian Whyte does win this. I think we're all in agreement Dillian Whyte's going to win this fight. Is there going to be a rubber match? It's 1-1. Is there a rubber match with this? What happens next? Matt, let's start with you.
Nope. With the utter atrocity in the boxing beatdown that Dillian Whyte will give Povetkin will retire because he's an old Russian, like James said. He's going to have to go back to like figure skating or whatever they do over there.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to be honest with you. Dillian Whyte gets himself up for the him and Deontay Wilder.
James, what about you? What you think?
Man, I don't think Povetkin retires. He's just one of those ageless vets. He's probably going to still fight around. What did Klitschko fight till when he's 48? Maybe not. Maybe that's not right, but I don't know. Man.
A little old, but yeah,
I
get it.
Felt forever, right? I think Povetkin's going to be the same way because I just don't think he is slower. His power is still there. Obviously, if you knock out Whyte, his power is still there. That's the last thing to go on a fighter. I think he's going to hang around for a while. Dillian Whyte, his next fight, man.
Say Deontay.
Peer pressure.
Wait, what happened?
I mean, rubber match.
They got that.
I don't know. Well, it depends. If this is actually a fight and it's not just a wipe up, if Whyte doesn't wipe the floor with Povetkin, I probably would like to see a rubber match. If Whyte comes out and just does what Seabach's predicting, not going to happen. I think it's. I mean, yeah, I'd probably want to see Whyte versus Wilder. Why not? Wilder's got to get back in the ring, man. We've all seen how these guys who don't fight, especially since this COVID time happened, these guys that have rust, that they come back and they were dominant before this happened. They took too much time off. They come back into the ring. They look terrible.
Yep.
I think that this is going to be Wilder's. It would be a Wilder prove it fight. It would be Whyte moving up to go, fight Joshua, UK. That's I don't know. That's what I think.
Can I give knuckles to James right now? Boom.
You can, but I'm going to intercept those knuckles because I think you guys are on the right track. Because Wilder is the right answer in so many ways, but it's not I don't know how to put this, but I'm going to throw some names out there, and then I'll let you guys connect the dots. Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois. I think that makes for a good UK fight versus Dillian Whyte. You hang on a second before you get muted, before I chop that hand you tried to fist bump with James. I think Alexander Usyk needs to do something out there to prove that he belongs in this division. I think he needs maybe go, oh my, that arm, bro. Usyk, I think Usyk and Povetkin. I don't think Povetkin retires. I think it's a good move, but I think this is where Usyk will jump in. Because I have Dillian Whyte winning. I don't know if I mentioned that, blah, blah, blah. I think Usyk needs to fight Povetkin. I think Daniel Dubois, who's coming off a loss to Joe Joyce, should go after the loser of this fight to reestablish his name. I think Joe Joyce needs to go after the winner to prove that, you know, he still has something and he wants Joshua, because we're not talking about Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. We're going to let that marinate for a bit. Wilder has already been called out by Dillian Whyte, so I can see why Wilder's the right answer, but Wilder probably has ring rust. Wilder should probably be on the undercard of Arreloa and Ruiz, because Ruiz and Wilder almost agreed to a fight. Matt, intruder from Lindstrom, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Are you done?
Go ahead.
Okay. Dubois needs a lot more time to recover his eyeball that was fucked.
Watch your language in front of the lady, punk!
Yep. That eyeball needs a lot of recuperation. I'll say that. He's not. By the way, did you not know that Joe Joyce and Usyk are going to be fighting?
Did I know that?
I don't know if it's in stone yet, but yeah, I would. That would be one that's in there.
That's the fight that will happen. We'll see. This is going to be the test to see if Usyk can handle heavyweight power with that jab. But you want to know something? Usyk is going to walk all over Joe Joyce with that one stiff jab that he did. Because guess what? Usyk likes to move. Dubois doesn't move like Usyk does. That one stiff jab ain't going to matter when Usyk's sitting on the side of you while your jab's over here and he's punching you in the side of the head. So, personally, I don't believe either one of those are even in the contention of anyone we're talking. Dillian Whyte, Deontay Wilder needs to happen. Like, those two are not even on the same class.
Matt, you ever disagree with me again, you're never going to be welcome back on my show. Do you understand what I'm saying? Don't ever disagree with me.
Rich, you know I love you, man, but we will disagree on
things. No, I appreciate it. James, what you got after my little thoughts, my 2 cents?
I mean, you actually made some good points. I didn't really think I forgot about Usyk because I forgot that he's in the heavyweight division. I still don't think he cleared out the cruiserweight. I just don't know if he still deserves to be in the heavyweight. But yeah, if you want to have a make it or break it fight for Usyk, why not fight Whyte? I mean, there's still, King Kong in that division. Like Usyk has to fight somebody that's actually a threat, not these Chaz Witherspoons or whatever he's fighting. You know what I mean? Like Seabox made some points regarding Joe Joyce and his ridiculous jab, which is a pretty dang good jab, considering he broke that eye socket at Dubois. And I watched that fight. That was, it was kind of boring, but it was still, it was effective. Like, you want to talk about technical fights that just didn't move? That's effective boxing right there by Joyce. Either way, I mean, Dubois was an up and coming guy. He had that power. It really sucks that he had the orbital bone breakage. So now it makes me kind of worried that he's going to have some issues like Kell Brook. And I really hope that that's not the case, because Dubois was someone that had some good promise from the UK that wasn't Fury or Joshua. So yeah, I mean, you made some good points. I like it.
Let me jump in quickly before I get to Matt, who has that hand. I'm going to have to break that arm or something. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. But they are doing the inaugural Bridgerweight division between like Oscar Rivas and I can't remember his opponent. It's Bryant Jennings. So yeah, maybe that's where Usyk belongs. But it's just a WBC thing. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, you know what? My hand was raised about the stuff before, but you know what? It's switched now when you brought up Bridgerweight, and this is going to be completely off topic. What do you guys feel about that weight division? Do you think it's good or bad for boxing?
Well,
I know this is off. It's off.
No, yeah, off the top of my head, here's a couple things. I wish the other governing bodies would have like joined on with this. For the WBC to be the only governing body to say, "Hey, we're coming up with this new division." That's one thing. I wish the IBF, the WBO, and WBA, and the IBO, whoever, all these the alphabet. I wish they were on board with it, and I wish they would have called it like the heavyweight division and change the heavyweight division to the super heavyweight division. I mean, because in Olympic boxing, there's the super heavyweight division. Why isn't there a super heavyweight division in pro boxing? So yeah, I'm kind of on board with it. I think the Bridger weight should be changed to heavyweight, and heavyweight be changed to super heavyweight, and all the governing bodies on board with it. What do you think, James?
James.
He's with me, it looks like.
I agree.
What about you, Matt? What do you think?
To me,
I'll drink to that.
Why did we need another division? I kind of want to get rid of a bunch of other divisions in the weight classes, to be honest with you. But
I think we need to get rid of belts, man. This was literally just I don't know if this is a ploy. Like the reason that it's here is great, but the fact that it's just another belt. It's another way to get money from somebody to do that. It's just dumb. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's a good idea to have that different weight class, but I just belt money.
Yeah. Well, even like we didn't talk about this, but Ryan Garcia is fighting Javier Fortuna for I believe it's the WBO interim championship. So the WBO has the interim belt, they have the franchise belt, they have the regular belt, and this is all in one division. These belts are a mess. Boy, I would like to stay on topic with that, but I know we are running out of time here.
How about this?
Do you guys have any?
Hey,
do you have anything you want to add to these belt things?
To be honest with you, I'm so sick of all the added belts. I want to see the best on best. Quit creating a belt to make a guy that's already good to give him belt to not fight another good guy. I want to see the best fight the best. That's how it should be. That's how boxing was born and bred to be, and it should always be that way. That's all I'm
rolling music here.
Yeah, I agree.
I think.
Did you not hear it? Did you not hear that?
No, you're good. I think. I agree. It's easier said. It's easier said than done. We can agree on that. It is hard to force a guy into the ring who's going to put his life, knowing he's going to lose. But I don't know. Do you vacate the belt? Where's the money at? These governing bodies want money. If there's more money and Spence not fighting Crawford, then they're gonna go find the money. I mean, the belts are all a mess. We don't acknowledge them. We need the Brews and boxing title. Go ahead, Matt, one more time, and then I'm just done with you.
All these boys, and I respect every one of them, but they should all get in there and fight one another. They come into this sport for glory. They should try to achieve glory and fight the best. Are you the baddest man? I mean, the baddest man on the planet is supposed to be the heavyweight, and I never agree with that. The baddest man on the planet for each division, yes, be that. Come in there and fight. You're there for the glory. You've already sacrificed your life. Why not get in there and do it?
I'll drink to that, Matt. We're going to close out tonight. Good to have you on, and I can't wait to have you back. But before we go, James, they're watching us. Where can they listen to us? And if they're listening to us, Raider, you're so much better at this than I am. Where can they watch us?
So if you're listening to us, you can watch us on YouTube. That's YouTube.com/Brews and Boxing. If you are watching us, you can listen to us on any major podcast site like iHeartRadio or Spotify, Apple Podcast, Alexa, Google Home. Just say it. Hey, Google, play Brews and Boxing, and check us out there.
Matt, thanks for coming on. Any closing words, final thoughts for you tonight?
My final thoughts were, thanks for having me on. You know what? I was nervous coming in to talk to my buddies and talk boxing and actually have it recorded. I felt it was a privilege, and I appreciate it so much.
Thanks for coming on, man. And my closing thoughts for the night, Raider Live, we miss you. We want you to come back. Raider Live and Lucky Live. We'll drink to you. Have a good night and tune in next week.